Welcome to Emotion Well, EFR's podcast about all things related to emotional well-being. I'm Johanna Dunlevy, the EAP Operations Director for Employee and Family Resources, also known as EFR, and I'm the host of our podcast. As an FYI, EFR is located in Des Moines, Iowa, and we are Iowa's first employee assistance program and provide a variety of services you can learn more about at www.efr.org. Hello, Ernest. It's nice to have you on Emotion Well.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to introduce you to our listeners. This is Ernest Phillips. He is with Relationship Wealth Enterprises, and I have just kind of come across Ernest's good work online, and he seems like someone who I want to interview for this podcast. So here you are, and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you very much. I like when people find me interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's more interesting when my guests introduce themselves versus me reading like a 3-minute scripted bio.
Wow.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, and this can be anything you want to share.
Oh, wow. Okay, a little bit about myself. My top values are love, truth, respect, and humor. And I bring those to everything that I do. I know that if I can find those in the world, or if I can share those into the world, my day is better. And I learned what those are by taking a tool called the Values Fingerprint, which you can take. You can go to www.valuesfingerprint.com. And it is a really neat tool that starts with over 400 values and gets you down to your top 10 core values. Wow. And I use those to guide me and how I connect to others. I find out what their values are. In my work is I do emotional intelligence coaching and training. And I serve a few different areas, for the corporate and organization. I do a lot of leadership training, and it's really values leadership training. And then I also do universal currency for sales and customer service. For those of you who have never seen my YouTube channel, universal currency is anything that benefits someone. And the more we are better at recognizing universal currency and receiving it in, the better off we are. I mean, we've all heard the phrase, it's better to give than receive. But if you're not receiving, then you're probably rejecting a lot of the good that's coming your way.
Absolutely.
So I do that. And then I also use the value fingerprint with the financial advisor world. And they use the value fingerprint to better connect with their clients and be able to build a wealth plan based upon a person's actual values.
Yeah.
In my spare time, I'm an author. I've got another book hopefully coming out this January on receiving universal currency. I do speaking, and I play a card game called Euchre, and I love the game of golf.
You do? You play euchre?
You know how to play Euchre?
I do.
No way!
Ernest, it's like the only card game I know how to play.
We play,
Well,
I've got a group that we play almost
solitaire.
weekly.
Okay, so I'm from Northeast Iowa, and euchre was a very popular card game up there. And I find that not many people, especially like in our age group, know how to play euchre. It feels like maybe an older person's game, like, something maybe your grandparents would have played. But I remember playing it, and I don't really play it anymore, but I know how to play it, and I enjoy it. And other than solitaire, which I feel like everyone kind of knows how to play solitaire, that's my game. I love this. That's such a fun fact. This is my favorite part of the podcast, when little things come out that I wasn't anticipating.
We do. We have a euchre group that it is all designed about just humor and fun.
I love it.
Some nights we can play 5-6 games, and then other nights we can only get through 2 or 3 because we're all talking and telling stories and sharing about our lives. But no, we play almost weekly.
I love it. Good to know. And my last question before we really dig into values and universal currency is Superman your favorite superhero?
No.
Okay, so tell me about the shirt, because I've seen you wear this in other videos. Okay.
So I wear the Superman shirt because my superpower is receiving universal currency. And I
Awesome.
receive it from everywhere. If I'm driving and I don't get into a car accident, that's universal currency. Um, I receive it from everywhere, and it's my superpower, and it's a superpower that I share with other people. And our kryptonite is how easy we reject the good that comes our way. The
Mhm.
number one way people reject is a compliment. Um, if you are dating a good guy and the guy says, "Wow, you look nice today," and you're like, "Oh, well, no." You have just rejected universal
Yeah.
currency, and it is a kryptonite that um, I share with others to how to overcome that kryptonite.
So I love where we're going with this, and we're kind of jumping ahead because I wasn't going to get to universal currency for a little bit, but I just feel like it's a good time to segue there. I've done it. I think a lot of people have done it. You receive a
Everyone does.
compliment, and it may be a compliment about something you've accomplished at work, or an academic achievement, or a physical achievement, or your appearance. Or I do it a lot with I'll get complimented on something I made for dinner, and then I'll sometimes say, "Oh yeah, but it could have been a little spicier. It could have maybe it was a little too salty." And so, why do you think we are almost like compliment adverse? Like we as humans, our natural instinct is to not embrace that because we should love. I mean, who doesn't love a good compliment? Is it? Do you think it's tied to vulnerability?
I think there's some vulnerability to it. I would say one of the biggest things, and it's definitely there's cultural differences.
Okay.
Um, I will say, so I'll speak in America. We are very driven by avoiding the big mistake. And one of the biggest things that no one likes to be called is arrogant. And if you are receiving these compliments too much, it's easy for people to see
Yeah.
arrogance. We are far more accustomed to downplaying ourselves in our country as an acceptable protocol than actually seeing ourselves as worthy. A person
Yeah.
that sees themselves accurately, their good and their bad, is actually the definition of humility. But what
Mm-hmm.
we call humility is, oh, no, 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 I didn't do that, or no. And that's not actually humility. That's actually under the auspices of pride, is when we refuse to receive that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's also one of those things that it's a controlling factor.
Yeah.
And so we want to control and control. And it is more, and it's one of my tug tips, it is more difficult to receive than it is to give.
Mm-hmm.
When you're giving, you are in power, you are in control, you get to do, but when you're receiving, it's all of those things. And I will also say, also in America, we have absolutely conditioned women more so than men to not be beautiful, to not say you are any of those things for the fear of being seen as one of the people that thinks too highly of themselves.
Yeah. Which is it's interesting because in the world of social media, and if you scroll through LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, you, it's almost like what you observe is the opposite. Like there's a lot of self promotion and a lot of selfies and a lot of look at me. Or I've noticed, especially on LinkedIn, which is the only social platform I'm regularly on,
Yeah.
there will be like a really nice story or lesson to be shared, but it often is accompanied by a selfie of someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, that's interesting. Like, is and I don't know. Like sometimes it makes me wonder. Like, was this about sharing your picture? Or was this about sharing your message? And it's just because like you said, we're sometimes conditioned to not think or boast about ourselves or accept those compliments as they come in. Yet sometimes the observation might be made that people are wanting that or they're comfortable doing that. So I think it's a strange dichotomy. Um,
I think for a lot of those people, they are searching for the compliments. And so they're doing that self promotion so someone will give them the compliment. The irony is when they are then given the compliment, they will often reject it.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's you don't have to say that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
just what I do. Oh,
Yes.
I didn't really do anything. Oh, that's
Yes.
just my job. Oh, oh, oh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. No, that's interesting. Well, so we're going to talk more about universal currency, but I want to start with values because at the beginning you introduced yourself and you introduced yourself by stating, I think you listed 4 values.
I did.
And I noticed that humor was one of them. And when you were
Yes.
describing your euchre group, you said, and it's fun and, it's humor based. And I love that because it kind of ties a hobby back to one of your values. So I want to just ask the question, do you believe people's values change over time? So if I were to go to the valuesfingerprint.com and take my values in 2008
Hmm.
compared to 2025, do you think there would be some similar core values and then some would change? Like, do you think people's values change and evolve as life changes and evolves?
Um, the answer is sort of a yes or a no. The no is your core values really don't change.
Okay.
They've been there for a long time. So the theory of values goes something like this. So your core values are embedded in you at birth. They are just whatever it is, who you are, you have a core set of values. And those really don't change over time. What changes is the learned values and your
Mm-hmm.
situational values. Your
Mm-hmm.
learned values are the ones that you have adopted along the way because of something. For if you are someone who grew up poor, financial independence is a value you've learned.
Sure.
If you have been if you're someone who has been lied to or cheated multiple times where it's traumatic, then fidelity might be a value that you have
Mm-hmm.
now learned. And
Mm-hmm.
then there are the temporary and the situational values. These are the ones that most people are actually working from. These are the ones that are what are the things that I need to do today or in this moment. I'm in a meeting, so my value needs to be aggressiveness, or my value needs to be leadership, or whatever it is that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the further you go from your core values, the less likely it's sustainable. And also
Right.
the less likely it's going to have meaning and that power behind it. Um, I've worked with values for the duration of my coaching. So you're looking at about 20 years of this. And when you learn what your values are, and it's one of those great things of uh, if you are getting 2 or 3 of your top values every day, your life becomes amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to build your world around it. So my friends, all the people that I play euchre with, they have shared values of humor, respect. If we have those two things, we're going to get along just fine.
Yeah.
And so and a long time ago, actually, it was for my 40th birthday party. Um, I had almost 100 people in one place celebrating, and they were all walks of life from 21 to in their 80s. But everybody in the room shared the value of respect and humor. And
Mm-hmm.
it was one of the best days and times of my entire life because I'm looking around at all these different people of all backgrounds and jobs and money and upbringing and location. And everybody was getting along no matter who they talked with because of the shared values.
Yeah.
And that makes life fun to me.
Well, and I think, you know, based on what your values are, especially your core values, you're probably going to attract people with similar values.
Very much so.
And so,
Um, very
probably
much
not
so.
a coincidence that most of the people, if not all the people at that party for you, had that value of respect and humor. Um, I think I facilitate a self care presentation on behalf of employee and family resources, and most of the time it's for the clients of ours that have our benefits, but sometimes it will be for an outside organization. And I always ask people to reflect on what their values are because self care is, such an important part of health and well being. And I think oftentimes people find that it's optional, but I think it's absolutely necessary to do do something for yourself every day. And that's going to look different, from day to day for the same person. And it's going to look very different from person to person. But I always think, what are your values, And if you can identify, first, what your values are, then you can kind of identify how you're spending your time.
Hmm.
Because I think with self-care, a lot of it comes down to, I don't have the time for that, or I wish I had time for that, or I can't find the time for that. And it's like, well, the time exists. It just might not be being used in a way that is in alignment with your values, right? And so you mentioned you do a lot of emotional intelligence coaching. And so I know what EQ is, and I think a lot of people do. But for our listeners who might not know what emotional intelligence is, can you just give, an elevator speech on like, what is emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
and why might it be something that an individual would want to pursue, in a coaching environment?
Sure. Emotional intelligence is being able to regulate yourself, being able to take a choice and make it powerful, where you're not reacting, you're not just in the moment, where you're letting your feelings make those determinations, because your feelings definitely vary.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to look at another individual in a manner where you're able to intentionally connect to them and intentionally be able to communicate a message. That is emotional intelligence. Um, Being able to know yourself, self awareness is a big part of it. Know yourself, being able to lead yourself, where you become independent of the things you cannot control.
Yeah.
It becomes a powerful. The studies behind emotional intelligence, people who have a higher emotional intelligence are more likely to get a job, keep a job, be promoted, be released from prison and not go back,
Mm-hmm.
more likely to overcome drug addiction. They are more likely to have healthier friendships, longer marriages. I mean, the studies are just extensive, because it really is this universal key of human interaction.
Yeah.
And I've always found it interesting that we really haven't done anything new with emotional intelligence for about 15 years, when Daniel Goleman did Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And that's part of what Relationship Wealth does. We answer three major questions: who are you really? What do you really want? And then how to get it.
Yeah.
And that's why the website is www.evolutionei.com. So we are doing the evolution of emotional intelligence, where we're making it more practical, more personal, more user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and going back to what you were talking about with the groups of saying, "Oh, I don't have time for this," one of the tug tips is, you never have to prioritize your true priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
I
that.
um my tribe are my love. They come first. I don't have to do on my to-do list, okay, let's make sure I look out for my tribe. No, I
No, because
mean,
it's you just look after your tribe. Like that is
because
your
it is
priority.
one of my highest and most important priorities. um, do you ever put on your list, today I think I want to be a good mom, I think I need to do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So whenever someone does, "Oh, I don't have time," I immediately go, that wasn't a priority, or it is a priority in their mind, but they haven't connected to the the benefits, or they have not connected to the consequence of not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because when you mentioned the good mom comment, like, oh, today I'm going to be a good mom, I think about the times I have received that as a compliment, like, you're a good mom. And it's hard to accept that. Isn't that? It's just everything is coming back to what we kind of started with that universal currency of the things that we allow ourselves to receive. Also, going now, I'm kind of jumping around, but when you're talking about universal currency, and it's easier for people to give than to receive because you control what you're giving. And I think there's also people that, and maybe that's a value of theirs, but also like some people are just more natural givers. I think they're just more wired in that way. Like They're the caretakers, they're the givers, they're the people that might be heavily involved in community volunteerism, health and human services type. The work I do at EFR, I'm around a lot of givers. I work
Hmm.
with a lot of counselors, social workers, people and, doing community-based services. And I just think about all the giving that some people are just drawn to, and it's probably part of their core values. And again, it's like something they don't have to think about. They don't have to prioritize that because that's already a priority for them. It lives inside of them. Um, when you're coaching people, so I'm getting back on track. When you're coaching people around EQ, and I was wondering, what do you find is the greatest way to motivate someone from where they are to where they want to be? And you have a video on YouTube about this, and I think it was about I'm tired of being tired. It's kind of that mentality of like, I'm tired of being tired, but how can people kind of get to that realization that like change is possible and it can be sustainable? And it's just like getting them over that little curb or that lip or that, little barrier, right? So how do you approach that when you're coaching someone, especially like using emotional intelligence as one of your techniques?
This is a great question because for a very long time I missed it. And I did so many different things to attempt to do exactly what you said. And what I found out is there's really nothing I can do to get a person to do that.
Yeah.
They have to have some sense of willingness and openness. If that's not there, there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
If it is there, then momentum starts with giving them something immediately that they can grab, that they have impact, that feels good, that is good, that has an impact. Giving them something immediately.
Yeah.
And once we give that and they see that, then I help them see that they have ownership over it. And that is the biggest thing. And that's why, with all of my coaching, I start with ownership of what do you own, what don't you own.
Mm-hmm.
And we own our choice, we own our intention of that choice, and then we own how we execute that choice.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else is outside of our control. And as a friend of mine once said, anything else is like trying to herd air.
Yeah.
You just can't. And no one feels good when they are helpless.
Right.
That's just so when you're trying to control something that you cannot control, it is directly associated with feeling helpless.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, I think about times in my life when I've tried to control or over control. And a lot of it was because my life felt out of control. And it's funny because there have been times in my life where I've felt very out of control, maybe in my personal life, and then I try to control more things at work. Or I noticed this when I was raising my daughter. I look back at, the first few years, which I think are hard for any new parent. And I was like parenting under really challenging circumstances. And I think about some of the things that I was trying to control as it related to, her birthday or, just like the little things. And I was like, oh, that had nothing to do with her birthday.
Nope.
No, it had everything to do with what else was going on, maybe in the house, Um, and I mean, the Serenity Prayer is something that I'm a member of Al-Anon, which is like the counterpart to Alcoholics Anonymous. So AA is for people that struggle with alcohol, and I've had people in my life who are members of that program, and so I'm in Al-Anon. And a lot of what I was trying to control was because of the circumstances related to maybe someone else's drinking, and then I was starting to like over obsess and control in other areas of my life. So I think it's interesting, like, it is hard to accept that you don't have a lot of control. And I think I came upon this, I'm not going to say it verbatim, like, but it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we don't have a lot of control over what happens to us, but we can respond in a way that can be healthy and helpful. And that's emotional intelligence, right?
That is
It's
emotional intelligence.
yeah.
The power from ownership is immense, and everyone tries to control something. I mean, you don't get away from it. I've been coaching this for a couple decades, and I've been implementing this for a very, very long time. And I still try to control things I can't control.
Yeah.
I still fall short of that. But when I'm in my place of ownership, what I found is I have so much influence over outcomes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is the part. The and then letting go of the stuff I don't control. For um, one of the so we played euchre last night, and one of the videos that one of them showed was three guys. It was like a husband, two sons, played a prank on the mom, putting a speaker in the back of the car,
Oh
and
no.
right, and they had it hooked up to where they could remote control do honking, cars honking different honks. So when a car would go behind them, honk, and she's like, "Why are you doing?" And she is losing it. She is screaming. She is cussing. I didn't do anything, and I'm so, and it's hilarious, and it's a terrible joke, but they were all like, "Wow, that's the way I would do it," and I'm on the place where literally just on Monday I'm in traffic, and I'm going to not for profit. If you're in Des Moines, Urban Dreams is a
Yeah.
wonderful not for profit. Does a lot of great things, and I was headed there. And there's a car behind me. We're in construction, and they honk. I don't turn around. I don't fret. I don't know why they're honking, but I know since I've done nothing, I know whatever they're doing has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that is that whole thing of the emotional intelligence of being able to say, don't take anything personal. If
Yeah.
it's true, accept it.
Yeah.
If it's not true, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the other person, and there's nothing you need to do about it.
Yeah. That's a great reminder. I try to keep that in perspective. You start to worry, oh, so and so is communicating with me differently, or I haven't heard from them. And it must be something that I did. Well, most of the
Right.
time it has nothing to do with me. But everyone thinks that everything has to do with them, because we just kind of live inside our heads that way.
We're
Uh,
human,
we're human. I
and
like
we're
how you,
selfish.
and we're selfish, and everything's about us. It must be about me. Um, I like how you said influencing outcomes. Like you don't have control over outcomes, but you can influence outcomes,
Oh my
right?
goodness, yes.
And so I think that can be really helpful, especially if people are in somewhat of a spiral of
Hmm.
wanting to control, um, or feeling like they're out of control or losing control. There's really not much in life you can control in my opinion. I mean, you can influence things, but we say it, if our life happens, we're here to help, because you just don't always know what's around the corner.
Yep,
And if you have the right tools to help you navigate whatever that is, you're going to be in a better place.
that helps.
But, reach out for help. I think people need to ask for help more often. That's a big thing that we try to encourage here at EFR, is like, ask for help. You don't have to do life alone. It can be help from a coach, a counselor, a friend, your neighbor, a stranger, your community. Just ask for help. It's so important. Um, all right, you had a really fun video on your YouTube channel, which I'm going to link in the show notes so people can connect back and start watching these. But you referenced the Adele song. I believe it was Go Easy on Me, which I love that song. And you talked about like giving grace to your inner child. So let's kind of shift the conversation towards when life happens and you feel out of control and you feel like maybe you've made a mistake or you don't know what to do next. Like, how can you just give yourself like the grace and the space to just keep going? And what are some things that people can remind themselves in those moments? Because everyone has those moments. That's like a guarantee in life. Things are going to be hard from time to time.
Yeah, so for those who have watched that video, and thank you for liking it. Um, on the way into the studio to record an episode, that song came on, And I hadn't heard it in a very, very long time. And it reminded me of one of the most important relationships that I'd ever had in my entire life, where that person had struggled with their inner child, had struggled with the feelings of self worth, had struggled with those things, and those things bled into our relationship. And they ended up being a major part of what became the relationship's demise.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that they weren't an amazing person, they were amazing. It was they were so hard on themselves. They had a separate set of standards for themselves
Yeah.
than they did for everybody else. And if they were not perfect, that was their spiral. And
Yeah.
the standard that they had, it kept them from being able to receive compliments, receive universal currency, receive love from everyone around them,
Mhm.
from me, their kids, their friends, their family, their coworkers. And it became such a huge thing. And I had always been so frustrated about it. And that song reminded me of one, the power of an apology. In
Mhm.
that song, Adele owns it. It says, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Mhm.
And please give me grace.
Yeah.
And when you can take that ownership that you don't have to be perfect because you can't be perfect,
Mhm.
and that if anyone needs that from you, that person is not being loving, including yourself.
Mhm.
And so, to answer your question, choosing to give ourselves universal currency is one of the most important. So when I look at universal currency, there's personal and there is relational and then there is spiritual and there's situational. The personal is what universal currency are you giving to yourself and what is the universal currency that you are receiving?
Mhm.
There's certain outfits that I put on that I feel like $1,000,000. And we
Yes.
all have a certain pair of shoes or a
Yep.
certain outfit. It's one thing to do it, it's another thing to acknowledge that I did this for myself.
Right.
One of the universal currencies that I did for me today, I took a 30-minute nap where I was
Nice.
probably only sleeping about maybe 15 minutes
Yeah.
before this.
Yeah.
Huge universal currency. Are there things I could be doing at work? Are there other tasks? Absolutely. But I got to give myself some universal currency,
Yeah.
and then I'm happy about me. So,
Yeah.
learning how to love ourselves is one of the best things that we can do, and it offsets so many of those things. And that is how we get to love our inner child and let
Mhm.
that child feel safe because we have done so many things. We know how many bad things we've done.
Yeah.
So we know why our inner child doesn't feel protected, doesn't feel like we have taken care of it, cherished it, honored it. And the only way through that is to learn how to love our inner child and
Mhm.
accept our inner child for
Mhm.
what it is and what it's not,
Mhm.
and then let go.
Yeah. I like that you chose to do a little rest and reset before this podcast. And I'm curious if you just want to share with our listeners how you chose that, because I think that that is listening to yourself and what you need is a form of self care and it's universal currency. And I think sometimes that is hard for people to do is to listen to what they need. So, how did you come? There could have been other ways that you could have accepted or received universal currency, but that was what you chose. Was it because you were feeling tired? And I'm only asking this because I think it's helpful for people to hear like your thought process behind making that choice.
Sure. Um, I didn't get a ton of good sleep last night, and I was up early this morning going to a UBN network. It's the Unconventional Business Network group. And I wanted to be early because I like to be early. And we did that. And then I had a bunch of tasks to do. And by the time I got back, I knew I was tired.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an early morning person. I'll never be an early morning person. I'm a night owl, and and I knew by giving myself a nap, I was going to be better for the rest of the day. I had
Yeah.
this. I wanted to be alert. I wanted to be all that. I've got more work. I'm working on a application for Department of Defense contract, and I've got some other things.
Yeah.
And then there's an evening event, the DSM magazine unveiling tonight,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and I know I want to be fresh.
Yeah.
And loving me is taking a nap
Yes.
and turning off the shades and not worrying about whether or not I get sleep, but just giving myself that,
Yeah.
setting a couple alarms in case I nap. Um, and you take off, the watch, and you make sure the phone can't buzz, and
Mhm.
you just give yourself 30 minutes to refresh.
Yeah.
And that's how I get there. I would honestly, genuinely say the one thing that I do better than anything is love. It is a skill. It is a gift. It is my number one value. Um, and I love loving, uh, and I don't put conditions on it because there's no such thing as conditional love, because love is just a gift, and I don't
Yeah.
worry about whether or not they receive it or they thank me. I do it for the opportunity to do it,
Yeah.
and I love loving on me. Um,
Yeah.
I yeah.
I think it's just so important that people pay attention to what they need. So today you needed that nap, and maybe tomorrow it would be like, oh, I wanted to go for a walk outside and get some fresh air, you know? And I think that's where self-care gets tricky for people, you know, whether we're calling it self-love, self-care,
Mm,
the universal currency. I think we kind of get trapped in this mentality that we have to, check boxes off of a list. And kind of like you said, your priorities are never going to be like on a list of things to accomplish in a day. Like they're your priorities. Like you just know, like for you, it's your tribe. Um, but I think I always like to share this. It's like, be the person who knows what's best for you.
yes.
Because and I can think of people in my life who feel like they know what's best for everyone. And that's just, I don't know. I know what's best for me. And yes, there have been times when I've been wrong. Absolutely. And I've, corrected course. But for the most part, I trust that I know what's best for me. And through life experiences, my intuition, paying attention to how I feel, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, whatever it might, whichever dimension we're talking about.
Hmm.
Like, no one knows me better than me, right? And I think that's a good reminder for people.
That is so. That gets tricky because you have studied emotional intelligence. You have become self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you, Joanna, know you better than
Yeah.
anyone else. There's a lot of people that have not done that work to where their closest friends, their best friends, their loved
Oh,
ones know
sure.
them better than they know themselves,
Yeah.
which gets really tricky. Um, but no, I agree.
Would that be someone who could really benefit from coaching then?
Oh
Like
my
if they're
gosh,
feeling like they don't know themselves, wouldn't coaching be like a really great tool for them?
yes. And and here's the thing. I don't care what coaching you get some.
Yeah.
Vet it, make sure they are skilled, make sure they have some sort of degree or coaching certification. Please do that. Please vet them because the the minimum entry point for a person to say they're a coach is just they hold a shingle and go, I'm a coach. So vet them, get the good stuff.
Yeah.
International Coaching Federation is the best resource to find a good coach, because they are qualified and trained. And find out, first and foremost, find out who you are. Because here's the thing. Do you know how hard it is when you meet someone and the I fell in love at first sight? Well, you don't know them. So how can you love them for who they are? You
Yeah.
can't. You can have a feeling. But
Mhm.
here's the other part of that. If you don't know who you are, how can you also expect to love yourself
Yeah, that's
for who
true.
you are? It
That's
all
true.
starts with who you are, which is why in our coach with relationship wealth coaching, it is we start with that. The other part that you're talking about of what we don't do for ourselves is one of the biggest insults we can do in America. And I have not studied this particular fact in other cultures, but I'm going to guess it's pretty high up there. Is you are selfish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We will do things at all costs to avoid looking selfish, feeling selfish.
Yeah.
So much so that we won't do good for ourselves, and we won't do that. My very first episode is You're Not Selfish, and I can prove it.
Cool.
And it's one of my best episodes, and because the tug tip is this: selfish isn't putting yourself first. Selfish is putting yourself first at the expense of someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
I put myself first by taking a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I took a nap instead of helping a friend who needs a ride to the hospital, now that's selfish.
Right,
I'm
right.
doing it at the expense of someone.
Yeah.
And I don't always have to be doing something for you. I can put me first as a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who love me, you know what they say? Good job. Because
Yes.
they want to be loving to me and show
Yes.
that universal currency. If I do something for me that is really good, and the other person goes, well, why would you do that? I now know wherever they're at in that moment, they're not thinking about me, they're thinking about
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And now, guess what? Now they're being selfish.
Yes. I love it. It's true though. It's true. I'm glad that you corrected me because you're right. Like I have had opportunities to do that kind of self-discovery, and I do remember what life was like before I didn't have those opportunities. And it was through coaching and support groups and a lot of counseling that I was able to kind of land in the place I'm in, and I'm still evolving and I'm still having to work on a lot of things. But you're right. People don't always know themselves best, but that is the goal, is that we want you to know yourself best. And so I love that you mentioned the International Coaching Federation, because we have life coaching at EFR through our EAP benefit, and we do look for ICF coaches. And I would love to include your contact information in the show notes, because not everyone who listens has our benefits, and you might be a great resource for them. And also, tell us a little bit about tug tips before we sign off, because I've seen the book and you've mentioned a couple of them today. I really like the one that you mentioned about, you're not selfish if you're putting yourself first. You're selfish if you're putting yourself first at the expense of others. But is there any other tug tip that you want to leave us with today?
Um,
Like a favorite. Doesn't even have to be related to what we're talking about right now. Although I have a feeling they all kind of connect back to.
they did. They yeah. So the Tug Tips is a book came out 7, 8 years ago. I don't remember when it came out. And it is 52 tips of wisdom, and then it's got and each one has a paragraph or two that dives deeper into it, and then at the bottom it has an action step, because without action there can be no transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the long standing. Boy, a favorite tug tip. Uh, so for the people who are wondering why it's taking long, so the first book has 52. Um, I have over 400
Oh my gosh.
tug tips
Okay.
that are waiting to get into
You're holding
books.
some back.
And almost every episode in the YouTube channel includes a tug tip.
Okay.
So um, let's see. Let's go with um, I probably have a tug tip
Now, the
book.
book that has the 52, as I recall, because I've paged through it, it's like a tip a week, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
that's why there's 52. It's designed to do it once a week. So you do the tug tip, and then you practice that for a week to kind of get good at it before you go to the next one. So, um, oh, okay. All right. I just opened it up. Okay, tug tip.
This was meant to be the one you're sharing. I
I
believe.
agree with you.
I believe.
Tug tip number 40. Love is unfair. It means sharing it with those who do not deserve it. And that is hard.
Yeah, that's kind of a yucky
I'm
reality
going
to
to lean
accept.
all the way in. It's like, oh, this person just did me wrong.
Yeah,
And they
it's
didn't
true.
apologize. And
It's
then they
true.
doubled down. And then they attacked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have the ownership and the opportunity to show love. And it goes right into the Adele song of when that person was doing those things, we still have the choice. Instead of giving them what we think they deserve, we can still choose to show them love. And we're not a doormat, and we're not being taken advantage of. We have boundaries, we have those healthy boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
but we can still choose to love. And one of the most loving things you can do, and it's my favorite thing to do, is meet someone where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Love them for who they are and wherever they are in their journey without judgment. And that is how I truly try to approach every human being. And I try to make sure I don't do, and I do a lot of things of unboxing our world. So I don't put you in a box that you're a female or that you have brown hair or that you are a Democrat or. I just look at who you are and I try to see what values you're showing
Sure.
and what values matter to you. And then I just try to love on you in that. And that is literally one of the best things that I can do every day. And it really is one of my priorities that I don't have to prioritize.
Yeah. I think that's the most perfect way to end this episode because I think that message is great and I think it's something that people need to hear. And I love that that was a page that you opened up because like you said, it's a hard one. It's a hard one to accept, but
It is.
I really appreciate your time today, Ernest, and I've got all sorts of good information to leave in the show notes. So your website is evolutionei.com.
Yes.
Your business, Relationship Wealth Enterprise. I will include a link to your YouTube channel as well as your website. And the Daniel Goldman EQ 2.0, is that a book that I could link as well if people are really interested
Yes.
in you? Okay.
So Daniel Goldman is considered the quote unquote father of emotional intelligence. He has done so much research on it. Yeah, Daniel Goldman, emotional intelligence, as your starting point, and then
Okay.
do Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence 2.0.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And Tug Tips, is that book on your website?
Yes, that is at firewalkerpublishing.com.
Okay. I will get all this information in and people can click to learn more. But thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely having this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. I love what you do,
Thank you. I'm
and
accepting it. Thank
yes,
you.
well done. And seriously, one of the greatest things that you said to me was you needed to do coaching and therapy and other things in order
Hmm.
to learn who you are. And very, 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 very few people truly learn who they are without that.
Yeah. I
Very
believe
few.
that's true. I believe that's
Very,
true.
very few. So it's not just an added help; it's a necessity.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's definitely a commitment as well. So thank you so much, Ernest.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Emotion Well. Employee and Family Resources is a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in Des Moines, Iowa. We support communities, workplaces, and schools with comprehensive behavioral health services. If you would like to contribute to our mission, please click on the donation link in our show notes.